Welcome to Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. As far as opening hand goes, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. We're going to keep on this one. We've got Gamble. We've got some really nice equipment in the hand. And it's always fun to go for a turn one Gamble into Ancient Tomb. And hopefully we don't whiff on it. So let's go and go for it. Let's go and get down Mountain. Let's go and go for Gamble. Let's go and grab that Ancient Tomb. That way we can get down to Valduk pretty quick. And then there we are. Fingers crossed we don't... Okay, we get a Mountain. All right, I'll take that. Then anything else, we'll go ahead and pass the turn to our opponent. We're playing Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. Really fun deck. It's been a long time since I've recorded with Valduk. At the beginning of combat, and if I'm saying that wrong, it's just... That's a weird name to say to begin with, and that's just how I've got it in my head. So it is what it is, unfortunately, for this video. So we'll have to make it work. Let's go ahead and get down... Do we want to get down Storm Rider Rig first and kind of get down some of this stuff? Because we can basically get down Storm Rider Rig, get down Gauntlets, and the beginning of combat is going to have haste. Yeah, I think I like doing that. So let's get down Ancient Tomb. Let's go for Storm Rider Rig, and let's go and go for Blade of the Blood Chief. Yeah, because that's going to be a little bit easier for us to equip once we get that down. Then anything else will kick it back over there. But yes, we're playing Valduk. At the beginning of combat on your turn, for each ore and equipment attached to Valduk, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste, then exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. We're playing against Tajic, Legion's Edge, so it should be a fun Boros or aggro matchup. Haste and Mentor, and I'll cover the rest of that in a second. Let's go and get down Mountain. Let's go and go for Valduk. That's going to be 1, 2, 3. Have him enter the battlefield, get down Storm Rider Rig. And one of the fun things about this deck is it is a Voltron deck. We're trying to put as much stuff on Valduk as possible. But the fun part of this deck is that he just sits back. He's just kind of like a little army guy and says, go, my minions, go. So let's go to combat, get those two elementals going. And this is just wonderful. We're not going to do that. Valduk, he already has it. He's got the lightning. Okay, so we're going to get the 3/1 elemental swinging across. And you can see how potent it is. On turn 3, we've got 6 power of elementals swinging across, putting some pressure on our opponent. Now, they can give the germ token protection from red, but thankfully, it's basically 0/1. Or if they want to give Mother of Runes protection from red, they can certainly do that. But at least we're going to be getting in for some sort of damage. And now, finishing up talking about Tajic. Tajic Haste Mentor, prevent all non-combat damage to be dealt to other creatures you control. Then for a 2-mana activation, Tajic gets First Strike until end of turn. I couldn't remember if it was Indestructible or First Strike or what it was. So have that elemental deal some damage, and we'll get an additional +1 counter on a Blade of the Blood Chief. So you can see how nice that works out. Pretty good showing. And then exile the elemental token, we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, one of the cool things about Valduk is unfortunately we don't have the elemental up, but if you look at the bottom right corner, you can see like the little claw guy on the furnace. He's got his little claws on there. Those are the elementals that pop out. I don't know, I've always thought that was really cool, so I'll kind of point it out whenever we get that going. But this is pretty much exactly what you want to do with Valduk. I know it's been a long time since I've released him, but let's get down a lot of just cheap equipment, you know, stuff like Sword of Feast and Fame and Sword of Fire and Ice. That is nice, but you want to have stuff that you can get on there very cheaply and as quickly as possible because you want to put some pressure on your opponent. Let's go and get down Buried Ruin, and then we're going to go for Mana Vault. That'd be pretty good. Chunk of mana. Yeah, I like that. Let's go and get down Mana Vault. Let's go and tap Mana Vault down. Let's get down the Gauntlets, which is so perfect for a deck like this. I love it. Let's go and get that equipped onto Valduk. And let's go and get down Shared Animosity. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Look at that. All right, so we get that down. That will be at least 3 elementals swinging across. So we are looking at an 8/4 at this point right now. But I think at this point they could chump block. We're just simply just going to hold back on Valduk because either way, Mother of Runes is going to force the protection. Well, now that I think about it, yeah, they don't have enough to deals 1. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, with that germ token, they can deal 1 damage. So let's say they block with Mother of Runes, Kimba, and get that 1 damage going. Yeah, we don't want to do that. So we want to keep Valduk on the battlefield. Let's get those 3 elementals on the battlefield. Okay, so our opponent will end up going for the germ token activation to deal 1 damage to our elemental, which that's a little bit of a bummer, but I'll take that. So because basically going to keep us in a position to where we can swing in with Valduk. I like that. And then always yield to that trigger because we want to keep the Storm Rider Rig onto Valduk. Okay, at this point right now, we're simply just still going to go and swing in. We will force the Mother of Runes block on Valduk, but at least at this point right now, that's going to be 10, and then we're going to get +1/+1 for each other attacking creature that shares with it. Okay, so we have Valduk that's going to be a 10-6 coming across, and then we have 2/4/1s with the elemental token. So it's really nice to be in a position to kind of be putting pressure on a Tajic deck. That's one of the good feelings for this deck. And then we'll see if Mother Runes is going to give her, okay, protection from red. I was hoping they go protection from black for some reason. You never know. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we get in for 4. That's going to put them down to 17. And then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, one of the fun cards for this deck that I absolutely love, and it's just so perfect, is Pandemonium. So Pandemonium is a 4-mana enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to target, any target basically on the battlefield. But the crazy thing about Pandemonium is it counts for our opponents too. So this is one of those cards that we want to get it down and make sure that we can take advantage of it before our opponent can. But it's one of those decks that you get those elementals down, you get those Pandemonium triggers going, and I don't know, it just makes for a really fun Magic match. I've always been... like, if I can find a home from Pandemonium, it's one of my favorite cards to to run in a commander deck because it's just so, I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. All right, so we are looking at least 3 elementals coming across, and we've got a pretty good board state from our opponent. We got the Forged Tinder, prevent all damage a red source would deal this turn. Do we want to tap that Mana Vault? No, I think we're okay at this point right now. Well, let's see if we can't do it. Let's see what we draw into. Draw into the, oh, that's good. And also, a lot of the equipment that's 0 cost goes a long way in this deck. So let's go and get that down for 1. Get that onto Valduk. That's going to be a 12/6. And that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can actually still go and push across with Valduk too. And he's already a cool looking dude to begin with. And so I love imagining, like, he's got the blade and then the, the Golem Skin gauntlets. Let's go and go to our combat step. Let's get those shared animosity triggers. Always yield to that. And that should be at least, yeah, that's going to be some 6/1s and a 12/6. Ooh, look at that. That's really nice. But yeah, I always like imagining, getting so much, and you're running a lot of this equipment that's just like these 0 equip costs, these 1 equip costs. So it's just really fun to imagine all the different things that Valduk's got going on. And the cool thing about this Golem Skin gauntlet is it gets +1 for each equipment on it. So, I don't know, it's pretty cool. So we're just going to have 2 of these 6s coming across at our opponent. We're going to get Stoneforge Mystic eaten up too on this one. Okay, we're going to knock our opponent down to -1. That is more than enough to close it out, get them down to -1. You can definitely see what Valduk is definitely capable of. Thankfully, we had Gamble into quick Ancient Tomb, and then that was able to put a lot of pressure on our opponent. And of course, Shared Animosity is a wonderful card for this deck. It just makes it to where your opponent just cannot get any sort of board state going, especially when you get those elementals going. So, Valduk was able to kind of hammer out the Tajic Legion's Edge and get the game on this one. So, if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. As far as our opening hand goes, yes, I love it. We have a turn 1 Gamble that hopefully, fingers crossed, we can turn that into an Ancient Tomb and we don't miss it. I do like the thought of going for that. Thankfully, either way, if we do end up milling out the Ancient Tomb, we still have Guy Reach Sanitarium. So I like everything else we've got going on. So let's do that. Let's go to get down mountain. Let's go for Gamble. Let's gamble for that Ancient Tomb. Keep our fingers crossed. Always, man, I love Gamble. It's such a fun Magic card. And oh, all right. Anything else, we're going to pass turn to our opponent. So we did hit Ancient Tomb, went into the graveyard. That's a gamble, though. That's what happens. We are playing Valduk, and it's one of those gambles that our opponent, if they look and they know that if we had Ancient Tomb, we would have played it. So they pretty much know that it's probably what we gambled for. We're playing Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. We still have Everflowing Chalice, though, so it's not the end of the world. I was going to get down Sanitarium. It just makes a huge difference having quick mana like that. I was going to get down the Everflowing Chalice for 1. We can still go and get down Bone Splitter. Old trusty Bone Splitter, and then anything else we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. But yes, we're playing Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. At the beginning of combat on your turn, for each ore and equipment attached to Valduk, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. We are playing against Atraxa, Praetor's Voice, Flying Vigilance and Dead Touch and Lifelink. Then at the beginning of your end step, proliferate. So we are sitting at 3 mana at this point right now. Hopefully we hit the land drop because that'll put us in a position where we get down Valduk and then get down Bone Splitter onto Valduk and then get some pretty good damage going on our opponent. That's what makes this deck so much fun, is that it's just so explosive sometimes. I hope we draw into Pandemonium. That would be something that I definitely want to get going. Okay, so we hit Forgotten Cave. So at this point right now, actually, if we want to go for Lightning Greaves, it's going to be Haste and Shroud. The only thing is, if we get Shroud down, we're not going to be able to equip that onto Valduk. I don't think we want to do that. So let's do this. Let's go get down Keeper of the Flame. Yeah, because basically we can get down Valduk, get a lot of equipment on there next turn, at least get down Bone Splitter, and then get at least a few of those elementals going. So to get down Forgotten Cave, let's go and play that, and then anything else, no, that will be it. We'll kick it back over to Atraxa. And also, we'll see what sort of flavor of Atraxa we're playing against. Hopefully it's not, well, if it is Super Friends, we can still, you know, Valduk is definitely well positioned to kind of take care of Super Friends. We get a lot of cheap creatures on the battlefield really quick. Now, we might end up going for Masterwork of Ingenuity. If we don't want to play around any sort of spot removal, I think I might like going for that. Hopefully we can get a few more elementals going, and we might be able to kind of shift a few more stuff around. Ooh, drawing a Mox Opal. That is a really good draw. It's going to get down Mox Opal, and we definitely have Metalcraft online. And yeah, now that I think about it, I think I like going for Masterwork of Ingenuity. So let's go and get that down for 1. Have it come in as a copy of Lightning Greaves. Let's go and get Bone Splitter onto Valduk. Let's get down Golem Skin Gauntlets, which I love this. Look at this piece of achievement. I don't know, it's just a really cool piece of equipment. I'm going to equip it for 2. Yeah, and let's go and get Lightning Greaves on there. Typically, if you've got about 3 pieces of equipment on Valduk, you're in a really good position. And we're swinging in for an 8-2, which is always nice. So, and that's going to be 3, 6, 9. That's going to be 17 on our opponent. So let's go and swing across, and we do have protection. So that's going to put them on some sort of board wipe. So let's swing across, that will be 8, and then 17. You can see how explosive it can be. It's going to exile those tokens, and then anything else, we're going to kick it back over to our opponent. Now, we do have Duretti in the hand. We can get down Duretti to discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards. So we'll see what we do draw into with Duretti, but at least at this point right now, we've got some pretty good protection on our opponent. Now, they can't get down Atraxa. That does give them the option of going for lifelink. So, but thankfully, Valduk sitting at an 8-2. If we want to make that trade, we can go for that. We'll see how they want to get that down, but definitely the lifelink off of Atraxa will kind of decide how we want to swing in. But either way, we're going to be getting those elementals going. That will be a bummer though, that they can basically just kind of gain that 4 life and then kind of negate some of the elementals that we have on the battlefield. All right, opponent's going to go for Bloom Tinder, which at this point right now, Bloom Tinder's not going to really tap for anything. Well, excuse me, it's going to tap for 1 green mana. But, yeah, I like that. Unfortunately, we don't have Trample, but we can definitely get that done. So we're going to pass the turn. Now, we do have Gaia Reach Sanitarium, so each player draws a card and then discards a card. So that's something that we can go for if we want to. And draw into Mountain. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Go for Sanitarium, Duretti. You know, we don't really want to give our opponent any sort of card advantage. So let's go and go for Duretti. We might be able to grab one of our cheap equipment pieces off of this. So we're going to go for the +2. We're going to discard 1 card. Oh, there we go. Drawn to Paradise Mantle. I'll take that. Let's go to get down Paradise Mantle. That's exactly what we needed. That 1 equip cost. And oh, unfortunately, we can't get it on there with Lightning Greaves. We can't shift it around and get it back on there in a second. So we'll go and do that. And that does leave us open for Atraxa swinging across on Duretti, but she has flying, and there's nothing we can do about it anyway to begin with. So we're going to go and swing across. That's going to be another 17 on our opponent. Okay, so going to knock them down to 4, get rid of Bloom Tinder. Let's go and shift Lightning Greaves over onto Elemental. Let's go and get Paradise Mantle onto Valduk. And then we'll shift Lightning Greaves back over onto Valduk. All right, there we go. Anything else, we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. So that puts us at a 9-2, and we'll exile those tokens. And at least next turn, they will, I think, even if they get down to Atraxa, they have to tap out for that, get down Lightning Greaves, swinging at Duretti. They can basically gain a little bit of life by swinging with Atraxa. So we'll see what they decide to go for as far as getting that down, because that will put them at 9 life total. They're going to go, ooh, Spike Weaver. Remove a +1 count to prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Okay, that definitely kind of complicates things. So they're going to have Spike Weaver swinging at Duretti. And that definitely it's going to stop us from at least being able to get those getting that combat damage going. So we draw into Mountain. I was going to go for the +1 on Duretti. And we draw into another mountain. And I guess at this point right now, we need to find something to deal with Spike Weaver. Let's go for Gyreach Sanitarium. Yeah, because either way, I'm fine with getting rid of that mountain. And then actually, we're going to get rid of mountain. And then I like getting down Rogue's Passage. That kind of puts us in a position to where if we can somehow take care of Spike Weaver, we can get it done. But we need to find something to kind of... Let's get down Rogue's Passage. Let's go and swing across. Now, one thing that we can do... Okay, I think we've got some sort of answer for this. Let's get those elementals on the battlefield. And we'll at least go ahead and force the Spike Weaver activation. Now, one thing that we can do, we can get out from underneath this is going to be something like Impact Tremor, something that's going to deal damage directly to our opponent. That's something that we can do. And so the only downside is once I get down Atraxa, the longer this game goes on without us finding some sort of end of the battlefield damage, it's going to be harder for us to close it out. So, but at least at this point, it's going to force them to get some sort of activation on Lightning Greaves onto Atraxa, and they still have to leave up at least 1 mana to go for that, to remove a counter from it and prevent all combat damage. But we do have some outs, so it's going to be stuff like Impact Tremors, Gamba Bombardment, I think something else. Yeah, we have Impact Tremors, Goblin Bombardment, we have Perforos in here too, and then Pandemonium. So if we can get down Pandemonium and drill some of that damage directly to our opponent, that's going to be non-combat damage. It's going to be pretty much one of the only ways that we can kind of survive something like this. So we've got our opponent swinging across with the Atraxa. It's going to put them back up to 8 once they gain that life, and if they want to, they can still swing it with Spike Weaver too. Yep, they will. And it's going to be Spike Weaver at us, and then it's going to be Atraxa at Duretti. So thankfully, with Atraxa swinging at Duretti, is that they're not going to gain that life. Well, actually, excuse me, they did gain that life. Maybe they had it the other way around. Okay, they do go for the Lightning Greaves equip onto Spike Weaver. And unfortunately, like I mentioned with Atraxa, once they kind of get that lifelink going, it's going to be hard for us to kind of... the more life they gain, it's going to be harder for us to do anything about it. I was going to go for a Gyreach Sanitarium. Each player draws a card and then discards a card, which does not do much at this point right now, and we are really far away from mountains. I guess at this point, we're going to get rid of Loxodon Warhammer. Yeah, because they'll be able to go for that Spike Weaver activation, and maybe some sort of Magic Christmas Land. We just run into a ton of mountains. We can get Valduk going, getting that 3 damage to our opponent. But unfortunately, with us having to use Gyreach Sanitarium to get some sort of card advantage, we're also giving our opponent card advantage by drawing and discarding cards too. Okay, let's get down Valakut, and then anything else, we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. We're going to get those elementals down, but at this point, we're not going to swing in because that's going to give them another opportunity to gain some life. And then either way, to be honest, they're still going to get that token on the Spike Weaver. So we're not going to swing in, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, we do need to keep in mind that Valduk does have at least the ability to tap for 1 piece of mana, so that way if we are going for these Sanitarium activations, we are looking at potentially being able to get at least 12 damage from these elementals if we get down something like Pandemonium. So the game's not over, but once we get into the 12-16 range, we might have to scoop it up because I know what's in the deck and I know what we're capable of, this deck is capable of, and we need a lot of things to happen for us to draw into a lot of cards to help us get out from underneath this. So let's see what they get down, though, for the turn. Okay, we have Tameo coming down, and the only downside is that basically if they use Tameo to tap down Gyreach Sanitarium as our only card advantage source, that's going to almost be a good game for us, especially with Spike Weaver on the battlefield. Actually, they're going to tap down Everflowing Chalice. That's okay. That's not too bad. We can survive off of that. But yeah, I'm double checking my deck list, and I think pretty much just our enter the battlefield stuff. Even if we draw into something like Goblin Bombardment, that is nice, but it's not really going to do anything for us at this point right now. So, all right, so we got Atraxa swinging across. That's going to knock us down to 24, and that will be 12 total command, or 4 total commander damage. But that's one of the downsides of running basically an all-in deck like this, is that we're basically just kind of dead in the water to some different things, like something like a Spike Weaver. Unfortunately, the Lightning Greaves, which we're drawn to a mountain. Okay, let's go one more Sanitarium reach. Drawn to Impact Tremors. There we go. We're getting somewhere. Okay, let's go and discard mountain. Yeah, that's what we needed to get going. Let's go to get down impact trimmers. Now, what we can do is there's going to be 4 elementals. We can target Atraxa, but they're going to be able to recast it. And 1 damage to each opponent. We can, unfortunately, we cannot redirect that over to Tamiyo. And we are looking at a -8 and getting really close to a -8. So we still need to get down impact trimmers either way. We did draw into at least another source. So that'll be 4 damage. Basically, we're going to be able to kind of negate the Atraxa life gain that they're going for. Let's go to OCL to impact trimmers. Okay, then anything else will go pass the turn to our opponent. Yeah, because they're still going to be able to go for that Spike Weaver activation. And if we swing it with an elemental, they're going to be able to block and just basically fog out the combat. Either way, so end up with the 4/4. So we'll exile those tokens, and then we'll go and pass the turn over to them. But we did draw into that. Another option that we can go for is going to be something like Chandra. That's going to at least give us some sort of card advantage. And we do have something like Outpost Siege to somehow get some stuff moving. We do have Prophetic Flame Speaker in here too, which I need to look him up. I forget what... Yeah, so with Prophetic Flame Speaker, when it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. We can play it this turn, but unfortunately with Flame Speaker having double strike on that, it's going to be hard for us to get that double strike damage with Spike Weaver on the battlefield. Okay, opponent's going to go for a Deep Glow Skate, and that's going to allow them to go for the -8. And whenever card's put in your graveyard, you may return it to your hand. So we'll still go to our next draw step. Who knows? We might be able to draw into Pandemonium and close it out. But with Tamiyo sitting at a 12 loyalty and still on the battlefield, they have no maximum hand size now. They're definitely going to be able to kind of push the game into their favor at this point right now. We basically need to hit Proforos or Pandemonium to close this game out. But we'll wait to our draw step. We'll see what we get going. Okay, let's keep our fingers crossed. Oh, drawn to Vintage Fair. Okay, that's not going to get it done. Let's go for 1 dig off of Sanitarium. Oh, drawn to Thran Dynamo. That's not going to get it done, unfortunately. Even with the Vintage Fair, there's not really any sort of artifact that we can go for. So we're going to go and scoop it up. So good game to our opponent. You can see how close we are, how much pressure we put on our opponent. But unfortunately, once you get down Spike Weaver and get it protected, it's just really hard for us to do anything. And we did not hit Pandemonium in the top 5, so I feel a lot better. But Pandemonium would have been an awesome top deck. That would have been 4 from Impact Trimmers. That would put them down to 6. And then those Pandemonium triggers would have been more than enough to close it out. But unfortunately, it was not any heart of the cards, but it was a good match. It's always fun to kind of make Atraxa sweat at least a little bit. So, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.